morning, everyone. This is Michele Hughes from Ageless and Timeless. Today I have a guest that I've been speaking with for quite a few months, and I've been so excited to have her come on the show. Her name is Catharine Arnston, and she's the CEO of Energy Bits, which we're going to talk about today because it's probably the only company that I would be able to recommend to my viewers in the algae, spirulina and chlorella business. So there are many, many people out there doing algae, but this one you're going to find after you hear Catharine is the most efficacious and has the most scientific research behind it. So Catharine, welcome to Ageless and Timeless.
Well, thank you for having me, Michele.
Yeah.
And I know we sent you some products, so hopefully you've been using it and we'll get you some more.
Well, that is so lovely because I'm running out now. And I want to say right up front that this product, and I usually don't try to trump up any any promotion because I want people to decide for themselves, and I don't want to sound like I'm an advertisement for companies, and we don't have any affiliation in the financial sense, except that we're both very, very committed to longevity and health. And we were brought together for a reason, Catharine, and we both know that. And we have so much in common. We're both from Boston. I was originally from Boston. Of course, I've lived in not of course, but I've lived in San Francisco for my entire adult life. But I do recognize all the places in Boston, and I still have a lot of family there. So that's one thing. And the other is that we're just both, at the same age, vintage, and we're both very
vintage. I like that. We're vintage.
Yeah. We wouldn't have met if it hadn't been for Kashif, but I probably would have found you eventually because it just meant to be. But Kashif Khan, if everybody remembers watching the DNA Company podcast, it was fascinating. And then he had me do the DNA test. And when we got the results, he said, Michele, there's one company I need you to connect with, because I was asking him, what protocols should I be using to follow up to improve my epigenetic profile? Because, we can't really change our genes, but we can modify how they be. And so he said, there's one company and I want you to meet Catharine. And so that's how we got together. And I have to say thank you again to Kashif because he is a great connector. And I saw online that you were on his podcast.
Yes. We're good friends, and we're both actually Canadian as well. I mean, I live in Boston, but I'm from Canada. He's still in Canada. I'm down here.
Yeah, so I know you've been in Boston for 30 years now?
Yeah. Good memory.
Yeah. Remember that how you got into this. So let's go take a dive into that. Let's go through your background first. And how did you become the person you are today?
Yes, well, it seems I'm the global expert on algae nutrition. There isn't anybody else talking about it. In Asia, it's quite common. It's well known and has been used daily and safely for 60 years. But because algae is not grown for consumption here in North America, virtually nobody really knows about its therapeutic benefits. Some people know about spirulina and they put a scoop of it in their smoothie and they know it's a superfood. But that's about all they know about it. And I'm hoping to help your community and everyone understand that algae is probably the one thing that will save your life, protect your life, ensure that you don't get chronic diseases, will slow down aging. It's literally as close to a miracle food as you're ever going to get. And so how did I become an algae expert? I tell people I didn't choose algae, it chose me. As I mentioned, I'm Canadian and I had an MBA and was doing international business, had a corporate career, 25-year corporate career, which was satisfying enough. And then about 15 years ago, my younger sister, who I'm very close to in Canada, developed breast cancer. Now, first of all, I want everyone to know that she completely healed and we celebrate her being cancer-free every year. But as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, told her she needed to change her diet to an alkaline diet. Now, they didn't tell her what exactly it was or why it was good for her. And this recommendation to change her diet didn't come from her neighbor or her yoga buddy. it was from her oncologist, who happened to be a woman. And women just tend to be more open-minded when it comes to nutritional interventions. And so we're very grateful that A, it was in Canada, and B, it was a woman. And so my sister called me because she had no idea what an alkaline diet was. I didn't either, but I'm a very good researcher. So I said, I'll find out. And I did. It was turned out to be a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll that have been proven to build your immune system. And when you do chemotherapy, it really, messes up, pretty much kills your immune system. So, and also, if anyone's done any research on alkaline diets, or cancer, there was a gentleman by the name of Otto Warburg who won a Nobel Prize back in the 30s. He was a German scientist, and he discovered that cancer cannot exist in an alkaline environment. And your cells need to be slightly alkaline, which is 7.1 on the scale of 0 to 14. So I think because of these two issues that my sister's oncologist knew that things like chlorophyll and phytonutrients were proven to build your immune system, and that cancer could not exist in a cell that was slightly alkaline, was why she wanted to have her adopt an alkaline diet. So I found foods for her. She went through chemo, completely healed, and as I said, 12 years later is still cancer-free. But her life changed, and so did mine, because as I was reading about these plant-based nutrition diet for her, this was 15 years ago, and nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition like they are now. So I thought, boy, somebody needs to tell the world about this stuff. I have no idea how I could do it, but I'm going to give it a try. I had no nutrition background at all, zero. So I enrolled in a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I got a health coaching certificate. I taught plant-based nutrition, and this is what led me to algae. I'm sorry, it's such a long story, but it is what happened. As I was teaching plant-based nutrition at hospitals and corporations, I found out that everybody knows they should eat more vegetables, but it was too much work, or they didn't like vegetables, or they gave them gas, or they went bad before they could eat them, or there was arguments at the dinner table. I mean, the list was endless of why people weren't eating vegetables. So I thought, okay, I know what plant-based nutrition can do for people. And if I can't get them to eat more vegetables, I need to find a way to get the nutrition into them in a way that's effortless. So back to everything I found for my sister. And it was when I got to algae that the miracle happened, because it turned out that algae is the most alkaline food in the world. It's endorsed by the United Nations as having the highest concentration of nutrition in the world, 1,000 times more than any other fruit or vegetable. It's been endorsed by the United Nations for 50 years as being the answer to world hunger, because it has 3 times the amount of protein as any other steak or chicken. It's been used safely for 60 years in Asia, where they take it every day. And here's the best part. It comes in little tablets like this. And every single tablet, which is about the size of a baby aspirin, has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So when you take algae tablets, you can most people swallow them. I chew them. But in seconds, you are nourished. No cooking, no cleaning, nothing. Each one of these tablets, each tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So now you can get all the nutrition that you need in seconds. It's got 40 vitamins and minerals, 64% protein, highest chlorophyll in the world, loaded with phytonutrients, and it's effortless. You can swallow them, you can chew them, you can add them to trail mix. There's no contraindications. You can give them to newborns, children, teenagers, pets, grandparents, anybody. And because our world is so full of toxins and our soils are so damaged that nobody's getting the nutrition that they need, this is the answer. It's effortless nutrition.
So I love what you're telling us, and it's so exciting to know that there's a true alternative to all the food that you have to digest, and you have to go through the microbiome and get, sometimes the side effects, even with plants like people have described to you. However, why is it, this is, just a curiosity question, but why is it, Catharine, that more people in the United States, until you appeared, had not or have not adopted using blue-green algae as an everyday supplement, just as a matter of course? I mean, last night I was listening to, I'm a podcast junkie, right? So I have to be competitive and to know what other people are doing, and particularly in the longevity field. And I listened to David Sinclair.
Sure.
I listened to Peter Attia, and neither one of them, they were both asked the same question: what supplements do you take? And neither one of them mentioned blue-green algae.
I know. It's unbelievable. Well, also here's why. There's a number of things.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Qigenics. From stem cell therapy to lifestyle coaching, Qigenics is the perfect place to go for all your health and wellness needs. This health clinic is amazing at getting you personalized medicine and wellness that is unique to you. Use the code AGELESS and you'll get 20% off your first service with them. Go to www.qigenix.com to find out more information about these powerful methods.
So, number one, algae isn't grown here. 99.9% of all algae, spirulina and chlorella, are grown in Asia. So it's Japan, China, Korea, Taiwan. We grow ours in Taiwan, which is known as the gold standard for algae. By the way, algae is everywhere. It's in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams. There's blue-green algae, there's green algae, there's macroalgae, which is seaweed. We're talking about microalgae. But it's not grown in America. So in Asia, Japan, any of the Asian countries, you can't drive your bicycle to school or drive your car to work without going by an algae farm. Here, we drive by cornfields, wheat fields, tomato patches, strawberry patches, no algae. So number one, it's not part of our vernacular. Nobody here grew up knowing about or seeing algae farms. That's number one. Number two, algae is a type of vegetable. We grow ours, as I mentioned, in Taiwan, hydroponically. That means in fresh water. It is not algae from the ocean. Yes, there is algae in the ocean, but our spirulina and chlorella come from water hydroponic farms, which is how most of the spirulina and chlorella is grown in Asia. But because it's basically a vegetable, you can't patent it. You can't patent broccoli. You can't patent carrots. And so biotech companies weren't interested in pursuing getting algae into the U.S. market because there was no upside. There were not billions of dollars for them to make because you can't patent it. So that rules that group out. Food companies never start a new industry. And I remind people, about 10 years ago, you didn't know about matcha or kiwa or collagen powder or chia or a lot of these other nutrients that have been used by indigenous groups for tens of thousands of years. Algae, by the way, has been used for 2,000 years, and it was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. But until somebody in America decided to educate you about it, like Vital Proteins was the company that really put collagen powder on the market, even though collagen and bone broth had been used around the world for centuries. It wasn't until they educated people about it that collagen powder took off. So food companies wait until some entrepreneur has identified something like collagen powder, in my case, algae, and has proven that there's a need for it and an interest in it. And eventually they scoop up and acquire the companies and then take it national or global. And, that's probably one of the outcomes that might happen with us. So food companies aren't going to do it. Biotech companies or pharmaceuticals aren't going to do it. We didn't grow up with it. And here's the other sad part of the picture. Scientists live in silos. Our medical community lives in silos. Medical doctors don't get any nutrition training at all during their residency. And their continued education is primarily paid for by pharmaceutical companies. The conferences they go to, there is no nutrition education going on for the medical profession, and scientists are just as siloed as medical professionals. So you have your heart specialist, you have your brain specialist, you have your vascular. So scientists are in their silos, and they are, because they spend so much time in their silo to get recognized for their work. And David Sinclair is a very intelligent, very highly regarded. I respect him very highly, but he's in a silo. And so there's no incentive for them to look outside of their silo. And I fell into, this whole thing only to help my sister. And what is so interesting to me is that I came with no science background whatsoever. I call myself a citizen scientist because I'm completely self-taught, although I'm now going to be writing my exams to get a PhD because I know so much at this point. But because I come from an outside field, and I've read about 3,000 to 4,000 PubMed articles on various things that are helping protect the body from various chronic illnesses, inflammation or mitochondria. But because I didn't have a silo that I belonged to, I was able to connect the dots in a way that nobody else has. And so you won't hear anything about algae from any of these scientists because they don't know that it contains the nutrients that protect your health. They just know that certain nutrients will protect your health, but they don't know that they're in the algae because nobody's told them.
So obviously Kashif Khan is an exception, as is Christian Drapeau. I don't know if you know Christian.
Yes, I know Christian quite well. And he has a mitochondria protection product that's based on algae as well. So, he's in a certain silo. I mean, you could say I'm in a silo too. I'm in algae, but my knowledge of how it applies to the body to prevent aging and improve longevity is widespread. Kashif, because DNA affects all aspects, all parts of your body functioning, whether it's your immune system or your brain, your neurotransmitters. He's also got a very broad swath. But most scientists who David Sinclair recently, I think he got 3 or 4 million invested in him by venture capital because he has some patents on his work. So, and I've worked in that venture capital community, so I know what attracts them. And actually, I kept them out of our company because I didn't want to have the focus be on just executing sales, because my focus is trying to educate people with the benefits of algae and why ours in particular is healthy. But one day, hopefully all these scientists will understand more about algae, but that's my job. My job is to get the word out, to show the science, to help them understand it, because people will only support and talk about something that they understand. And if they don't understand what algae does, there's no chance that they'll ever mention it, include it. It breaks my heart every time I see a chart of top 10 antioxidants and algae is never mentioned. But, in another 5 or 10 years, it will be right up there with everything else, because
I so applaud what you're doing and your passion. The one thing, he's another Canadian, of course it's Christian. So we've got you, Kashif, Christian, all being, the ones that understand all Canadians and all have adopted.
Oh, that's true. Christian's Canadian too. So I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's lived in the United States for over 30 years, but he did his discovery of blue-green algae in Klamath Falls. So there is the Oregon.
And I don't want to slam what Christian's doing, but the problem with growing algae in a lake like Klamath Lake or the ocean is that you cannot keep mycotoxins out of it. So mycotoxins are in any wild body of water, and algae will absorb whatever's in the water. So this is why the fact that we grow ours in triple filtered spring mountain water is really important. And we do third-party lab tests to test for mycotoxins. And of course, we never have any. But there are scientific papers that I have read that tested the algae grown in Klamath Lake, and they found mycotoxins. It's just the way it is. And mycotoxins, attack your brain cells. They attack all sorts of cells. And you find them in coffee, wheat. They're pretty much everywhere. So it's hard to avoid them. But I'm proud of the fact that we don't have them in our algae because we grow it so carefully in this triple filtered spring mountain water. So, I tell people, when you consume algae, it's like anything. There's going to be poor quality and high quality. It's no different from shoes or beef. You can get I don't even hesitate to even call it beef, what you get from McDonald's, or you can get grass-fed Kobe beef. And the differential is like night and day. And algae is not like growing broccoli. It's actually like growing wine. And the production process determines the quality and all the different attributes of the wine. Same with algae, the way you grow it in the water, the way you dry it. We don't use high heat when we dry our algae, which is why ours is so high in its efficacy, because we preserve critical nutrients that have been proven to prevent mitochondrial damage, reduce inflammation, stop heart disease, Alzheimer's. And when you use high heat, like most of the other spirulina and chlorella algae companies do, that are less expensive, the high heat denatures some of these nutrients. So they basically deactivate them. So yes, you can get lower quality, lower priced algae, but you're going to miss half of the powerful nutrients because of the use of high heat. So, so it's all these nuances that play into it.
Well, no, they're critical, and I'm so glad you explained that, because that's what I said in my opening, that we were going to find out today why energy bits, it is a different, it's a class of its own, and people need to understand that, because I read all the reviews on Amazon and of energy bits. I went through everything.
Oh gosh.
And one, almost to the T, 5-star reviews were, the product really works, but several people said it was too expensive for them. So, and I always think, well, if something's expensive but worth it, then if you're dealing with your health, why not, skip that cup of coffee at Starbucks? Sorry to say Starbucks, but do something that's pay a little extra for the product that is going to be important to your health. So yeah, I'm really happy that you went through that. So let's talk.
Well, can I just address the price thing, because I do want people to understand it. So we the most popular item that we sell are these large bags of algae tablets, and they come with about 1,000 tablets in a bag. I have another. I can show you. But I took that quote from NASA that said 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. So number one, each bag of our 1,000 tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. That's about 30 grocery carts of vegetables. So number one, it's very efficient nutrition. And also, it never goes bad. We have to put an expiry date on 3 years, but what vegetable will last forever, because it technically never goes bad. So that's number one, very concentrated nutrition. Number two, and we have a 20% discount code we're going to share with your community at the end. So most people do use a discount code. A full bag of those 1,000 tablets. I'm going to show you the size of it. The bag has 1,000 tablets in it, and it's normally $130 on our website, energybits.com. But when you use the discount code, it brings it down to $104. And people might go, oh, wow, that's still a lot of money. But our regular, for just maintenance purposes, to fill your nutritional gaps, preserve your health, we recommend 10 tablets a day. So if you divide $104 out and you take 10 tablets a day, you know what that works out to? $1 a day. $1 a day.
That's why I said that you can skip that coffee, which is $1.50 or whatever, for even more for the lattes. And so this is where you have to make choices. And I always say on my podcast, your health is your responsibility, and it's the sum total of your choices.
Correct.
So this is why I want people to be aware of you, because there's just a choice that a lot of people are not even cognizant of, except if they happen to bump into you on one of your podcasts or on Amazon. I'm so happy that you have that distribution, because it does put a wider spread awareness of what you're doing. So the other thing is, well, I always say you get what you pay for. So that's normally true, not always, but normally true. So, but let's go backwards a little bit. I want people to understand what these mitochondria do for us, because we talk so much about cellular aging in many of my podcasts, that all aging begins in the cells. That's kind of a revelation that a lot of people never were, or still are not aware of. that really you have to look at what your cell, which is your mitochondria, which is the energy, is the ATP of your cell. So that's the motor that runs it's like the host computer. And so if you look at mitochondria, talk to us about why blue-green algae or energy bits affects the mitochondria of the cells, and do the backdrop of what we're facing today, which is more toxins than we've ever known, or civilization has ever known. 700 average toxins in each of us. That's daunting to think about. I mean, how could you ever fight off and reduce aging when 700 toxins are screaming and floating around in your body? So detox is the kind of a hot name, a hot topic, but just go through and explain to us, Catherine, because people need to understand, why is it that blue-green algae can be an answer, or at least a solution to these 700 toxins and the reduction, and of course the mitochondrial health, which will affect our aging.
Yes. Well, thank you. There's two main things that are causing all this disease, inflammation, aging. One is, as you mentioned, the high load of toxins. Our bodies weren't made to support that level of toxicity. And so you need to get those toxins out, because they lodge in your cell membranes, they lodge in the mitochondria, they prevent proper cellular communication, they prevent proper absorption of nutrition. And the way there's two, I'm going to sort of give you a little bit more of a background. There's two main algae that we sell, or that you can find at Whole Foods or Target or anywhere. It's spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, and the other algae is chlorella, which is a green algae. And so the green one is the detoxing algae. We call ours recovery bits for that reason, because it helps you recover your health. And chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world, which is why it's called chlorella. And the reason why chlorophyll is important is because the chemical composition of chlorophyll, I'm going to show you a picture, is virtually identical to your hemoglobin. Here's the chemical composition of chlorophyll. Here's the chemical composition of your hemoglobin. They're virtually identical. So number one, chlorophyll, which is found in plants, but virtually not enough of it anymore because their soils are so damaged. Chlorophyll builds your blood. And when you have a healthy blood, you're going to have a healthier immune system. You're going to have a healthier gut. Everything in your body is going to be healthier. So that's number one about chlorella. Number two, it has a hard cell wall that attaches to toxins: lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum, glyphosate, pesticides, alcohol, lactic acid, attaches to them and chelates them, which means pulls them out. So that's detoxing in its own right. And it also has fiber, which feeds your gut biome, so that your immune system, 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So this is why chlorella is known as a detox immune health builder algae. It's cleansing, it's detoxing, and it builds your gut. And so that is number one: getting rid of the toxins, building your immune system, and healing your gut. Now, that's what chlorella does, and that's why we call ours recovery bits, because it helps you recover. The other piece of the equation is nourishment of your body, your brain, and your mitochondria. And that is done by spirulina, which is a blue-green algae. It's called a blue-green algae because it has two pigments in it. It has a blue one that's called phycocyanin, which probably nobody has ever heard of before. And it has the green one, which is chlorophyll. So if you were to put some tablets of spirulina into a plate, this is the blue color that comes out. This is, and you spell phycocyanin, Phycocyanin. It does not exist anywhere else in nature, only in spirulina, and it disperses evenly. Chlorophyll, which is in chlorella, it's also in spirulina, clumps because it's a fat-based pigment. But as we get into the mitochondria in a deeper conversation right now, I want you to know that phycocyanin, which is blue, has been proven to kill cancer cells. That's pretty important. And I can walk you through how that happens. But anyway, so blue-green algae, which is spirulina, is the algae that is recognized for healing the mitochondria. Chlorella is the one that heals your gut and your immune system. So they work together and they do quite separate things. So what exactly is sorry.
Sorry, but I think people should know that the body, as you say, it doesn't make, the body stops making these SOD, which I'm sure you're going to talk about, and
yes.
Psychocyanin. The body stops making these nutrients at age about 30. So for some reason, I think it's like you said in one of your podcasts, it's because we were programmed to live until age 30. But guess what? We're living a lot longer, and now our body stops making so many nutrients at that age. So now we have to externally supplement. So keep going, but I just want to understand that the body does support you until you're about 30 years old. And then you notice that about 30, 35 years old, that some of these things that you've taken for granted are not doing what they used to do.
Right.
So is where you have to start looking for other solutions. So, okay.
Right. Okay. So back to the mitochondria, as you'd mentioned, they're what propels, they create what's called cellular energy, also known as ATP. And cellular energy is needed for everything, not just going for a run or doing your errands. It's required for your neurotransmitters, for your lymphatic system, for your heartbeat, for your breathing, absolutely everything. And I tell people, having more cellular energy is like having more money. When you have more money, you can do more things and you have more choices. And same with cellular energy, you can do more things and you have more choices. The problem is, as we get older, the creation of this cellular energy, which is made by the mitochondria, decreases. And because as we get older, the mitochondria decrease, they get damaged, so they're not functioning as well. And an analogy I make what's happening is that imagine your body is like a building, and when the new building is built, everything's brand new. The offices are beautiful, and you've got lots of maintenance people. So when you're born, same thing. Everything's brand new. Everything's working. As the building gets older, if it's not well maintained, the lights go out and the offices get dirty. So the maintenance people have to come in and change the lights and clean the offices. As you get older, think of your cells like those offices. If they don't get cleaned out, and if somebody, and the mitochondria are like the light bulbs in the office, if somebody is not turning the light bulbs back on, then you can't do any work. Your cell can't function because it doesn't have light. So what you're going to find out about spirulina is it effectively turns the lights back on in your cells, because it reactivates the mitochondria, just like the maintenance crew would go in and replace any light bulbs that had died in an office. So this is what spirulina does. It turns the lights back on in your cells so that which are your mitochondria, so they can function better for you. And when you have more cellular energy, it means your body has more energy to fight a disease, fight a virus, think faster, breathe properly, have less heart palpitations, clean out your immune system. It just works better. So let's take a look at what's really going on with these mitochondria. Why are they getting damaged? And when do they get damaged? And why exactly is algae the answer that with nutrients not found anywhere else in the world? So I'm going to walk you through a bit of a science class here. Here's your cell. And inside the cell is your nucleus, and these little peanut-shaped things are your mitochondria. Now, you have 2 million of these little peanut-shaped things, mitochondria, in your brain, because the highest concentration of mitochondria are where the greatest energy needs are. That's your brain, your heart, your muscles. Inside the mitochondria, this is where the ATP is produced. But what people don't tell you is that a byproduct of ATP, producing all that energy, are free radicals. And free radicals are damaging. And the problem is your mitochondria have their own DNA, which are located exactly where the free radicals are being released. So your regular DNA is nowhere near where the free radicals are being produced. It's just the mitochondria DNA. And your mitochondria DNA, there are 37 of them. I know there's only 37 compared to 22,000 regular DNA, but those 37 control everything else. They control your regular DNA. They control cellular communications. So when they get damaged by all these free radicals, they either die or they send wrong signals. And when they die or send wrong signals, this causes inflammation, which leads to disease. It doesn't matter whether it's heart disease, Alzheimer's, autoimmune, etc. So you say to yourself, well, what's really going on? I'm going to give you a little bit more of a science lesson. The way that the ATP, that cellular energy, is produced, it's a bit complicated, and it's called the electron transport chain. And what happens is, I'm sure everyone's watched a relay race, right? Where there's a runner, they have a baton, they pass the baton to the next runner, that runner runs the next distance, and hopefully they cross the finish line and win. Well, it's very similar to the way your cellular energy is made, except instead of passing a baton from one runner to the next, what's passed are something called electrons. And instead of winning the race, you get energy. But the problem is, this is the picture of how so these molecules are like the runners, and they pass electrons from one to the next, and then they generate cellular energy. But when your mitochondria get damaged, what happens is those runners get spread out. They're further and further apart from one another. When they're close, when they're healthy, they can pass the electrons, win the race, generate lots of energy, everybody's happy. When you have damaged mitochondria, the mitochondria expand. Now they can't transfer the electrons from one to the next. So what happens? Two things happen. Because the electrons aren't being transferred, you aren't generating cellular energy. So now you're fatigued, you have brain fog, you don't have cellular energy to fight that virus or whatever. So that's number one. Number two, because the electrons aren't generating energy, they don't just disappear. What happens is they leak out into the rest of the mitochondria, and they become free radicals. And free radicals cause inflammation. So as you get more damaged mitochondria, the damage gets worse and worse and worse. Here's a picture of a healthy mitochondria, and here's a picture of a damaged mitochondria with all those little electrons that have leaked out and caused inflammation. So when you have all this damage going on, you just get more and more tired. You age faster. Your skin gets wrinkles. Your digestion doesn't work because you're just not generating cellular energy. The good news is there's two ways to correct it, and algae is the answer in both situations. The first way is to reduce the free radicals that are being produced, and the second one is to remove them. Let's look at the first one. The things that cause the most free radicals to leak out are processed carbs. Processed carbs generate massive amounts of free radicals. So the first and easiest way for you to protect your health and protect your longevity is to reduce the number of processed carbs that you're eating. You could do a keto diet. You don't have to. You could just go low carb. But even better is intermittent fasting or taking algae. In both those cases, there's virtually zero free radicals being produced. So that's the easiest. Doesn't cost you anything. Just reduce your carb load and you will have fewer free radicals to damage the mitochondria. The second way you can protect your mitochondria and therefore your health is to remove the free radicals. Now, we all have heard of antioxidants, right? And I'll just explain what an antioxidant is. A free radical has an unpaired electron orbiting it, and nature loves harmony. And so when you have an unpaired electron, that molecule will try to steal an electron from another molecule, which causes tissue damage. And now that one's unbalanced, and so it will try to steal an electron from the next one. And so this is what causes inflammation and damage. The good thing is something called antioxidants have extra electrons. So it's like going to school and someone stole your lunch, so then you steal someone else's lunch. Well, an antioxidant is like someone who brought in a free lunch for you. It donates the electron to the unstable free radical so that it neutralizes it and is no longer damaging. And so, but in the mitochondria, there is a free radical called superoxide. It has 3 unpaired electrons. So it is 3 times as damaging. And so it really needs antioxidants to reduce that damage. The problem is your mitochondria is the only cell in your entire body that has two membranes. All of your cells have something called a lipid membrane, and mitochondria have a lipid membrane as well. And I'll tell you in a minute where that came from. The mitochondria have a second membrane, and virtually no antioxidants can get in there. You could eat a room full of blueberries, vitamin C, vitamin E, none of it will get into that inner membrane of the mitochondria. So your traditional antioxidants, even drugs, can't get in there. Don't stop the free radical damage. The good news is there are a couple that do. Chlorophyll is one of them. Glutathione, and one you already mentioned, superoxide dismutase, which is also known as SOD. Those can all get into the inner membrane of the mitochondria and stop free radical damage. And the great thing is spirulina algae has the highest concentration of all three. And if you ever had any doubt about the importance of this nutrient called superoxide dismutase, there are 25,000 studies that have proven that it stops heart disease, Alzheimer's, inflammation, because of this unique ability to neutralize that triple threat superoxide, which is a very unstable free radical that is generated as a byproduct of ATP production. So the fact that spirulina has the highest concentration of it, and scientists don't even know this because nobody's looking at algae. They know that superoxide is important. They also know that it doesn't exist in any other food in the world, any other food. I'm going to reemphasize that, except spirulina algae. But there's two catches. Superoxide, SOD, is not only an antioxidant, it is an enzyme. And anybody who knows anything about nutrition knows that enzymes are deactivated at 114 degrees Fahrenheit. And virtually all the other algae companies use high heat to dry their algae because they are lower priced algae and they have to get to market quickly. So by using high heat, they basically kill the superoxide dismutase. So you can go to Target and buy much less expensive spirulina, but I can almost promise you that the SOD that's in there won't do anything for your mitochondria. We don't use high heat to dry our algae. And the other thing we can recommend is frozen or fresh spirulina, because again, it has not been exposed to high heat, but it's messy, it expires quickly. You can't do anything with the taste, and most people don't like it, and it's hard to find. So this is why, we're talking to folks like the Gershon Institute and the Hippocrates Institute that use fresh spirulina when they're working with their patients who have stage 3 and 4 cancer. But once they leave the center, they want an easier way for them to get access to the superoxide dismutase from a raw spirulina source. And they were happy to find out that our spirulina is considered raw because we don't use high heat. So now you have this, imagine, you're in a rainstorm, but you've got your trusty umbrella and it's protecting you from the rain. That's great, right? And that's what superoxide dismutase does. It protects you from the rainstorm, and your body makes it, as you mentioned, until the age of 30. But biology thinks that we've lived for 200 million years, and our biology and our evolution thinks we're going to die at 30 because up until about 200 years ago, we did. So after the age of 30, because you have superoxide dismutase being generated by your body from the moment you're born until you're 30, by the time you're 40, your body doesn't have any superoxide dismutase being made. So it's like someone's pulled that umbrella away from you. Now, your poor old mitochondria, there's still the cascade, the big storm of free radicals being produced as a byproduct of ATP, but you no longer have that umbrella called superoxide dismutase to protect you. When you take spirulina with the highest concentration of superoxide dismutase in the world, it's like getting your umbrella back.
Yeah, and there's one other one, the master antioxidant that you mentioned, which is glutathione. So with glutathione, and this is what people don't realize. Glutathione is very, very difficult to absorb into the body. You really, if you go and take an IV, it's gone in a half hour. I mean, yes. It got to the mitochondria, maybe did some good in helping to do what you just described with respect to the cells and the ATP, which is to get rid of free radicals. But you lose it. And so I take it every day, but I take it as a liposomal, under the tongue, sublingual. And then now you can inject it. But again, I don't know how long the injection that I would be taking. I haven't started that yet, but I just wonder, am I wasting my money because the injection's not going to last either? So,
right. Well, here's the great, yeah. This is
now,
why I love spirulina so much. And you can chew it. I chew mine, but you can also swallow it. Because spirulina is not even a plant. And the reason why that's important, it's actually a bacteria. It's called a cyanobacteria. And the reason why that's important is because it has no cellulose wall for your body to break down to get access to the nutrients, including glutathione, chlorophyll, and superoxide dismutase. So when you chew spirulina, and I do, and if you like the flavor, I will warn people, it's very chewy because it has 64% protein. It's loaded with essential fatty acids. But if you do like it, it will get absorbed into your body within seconds because, as you mentioned, it goes sublingually through your mouth. Now, if you swallow it, and I'd say 95% of our customers do swallow it because they don't like the flavor, it still gets absorbed so quickly because there is no cellulose wall to break down. And all of the 40 vitamins and nutrients, including the glutathione, the superoxide dismutase, get absorbed into the bloodstream instantly. And so it gets directed to the mitochondria and where it needs to go. So it's not damaged in the stomach digestive process. The chlorella does take longer because it does have a cellulose wall. And in fact, it's the hardest cellulose wall in the plant kingdom. It takes about an hour and a half to get fully absorbed into the system. So that's why, in fact, we're working with a lot of IV drip companies to stack taking spirulina while their patients or clients are getting the drip, because it will extend and deepen the effects of the glutathione drip because of the capability of it to be absorbed so quickly. So so it's pretty, in fact, we're working with cryotherapy and red light therapy for the same reason, because it really deepens and improves the quality of the treatment and the life of the treatment. So it's pretty interesting.
I just got flagged that we only have 5 minutes, so I want you to be able to talk about the other category, the beauty category, because I know many of our viewers are very interested in anti-aging from the aesthetic standpoint. So can you tell us about your beauty product?
Beauty bits. Yeah. So the funny thing about beauty bits is it's exactly the same as energy bits. And it's 100% spirulina, organically grown spirulina. Well, that one's Vitality Bits, which is a blend of the two algae. Now, the reason why there are two spirulina is because I started the company because of my sister, and we found that women just did not like the blue packaging of the energy bits. So my girlfriends literally said, here's our Beauty Bits canister. My girlfriend said, you got to make it pink and give it a cute name. And here's the really interesting thing. Spirulina has more collagen in it than collagen powder. So if you're looking to build and collagen powder is necessary for your skin and for your joints. So number one, it helps build collagen. It also has nutrients in it like vitamin K2 that removes excess calcium, which can damage your elastin. Elastin is what holds your skin structure up. It's sort of like scaffolding. And so when it gets damaged, it collapses, and that contributes to wrinkles. So spirulina helps protect you from that. It also has, as I mentioned, has the highest protein in the world. People tell us all the time, their hair is growing so fast. Men hate the fact they have to get haircuts twice as often because their hair is growing so quickly. On the other hand, it's a great news for as you get older, it's harder to maintain healthy hair. You have lots of breakage. This will prevent that. It also builds your nails. My nails are as hard as nails. I could probably open my apartment door with my nails because they're like a rock. I don't get any tips or anything. I've never put that on, although you're welcome to if you want to. So between the collagen, the alkalinity also prevents blemishes. Blemishes are caused by bacteria, and bacteria is acidic. So back to that whole Otto Warburg scenario where cancer or any disease or bacteria can't exist in an alkaline state. Same with blemishes. By the way, chlorophyll, and algae has the highest chlorophyll in the world, 500 times more than arugula and 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. It kills bacteria. It kills it in your mouth. It kills it in your skin. It kills it in your colon. So very cleansing from chlorophyll. And there's, my arugula goes yellow after day 3 because there's hardly any chlorophyll in there any longer. So it's very good for nourishing your skin, keeping that dewiness, the strength of the collagen. I did an analysis of the aminos in spirulina compared to collagen powder, and we have up to 400% more of some aminos than found in collagen powder. And collagen powder is not sustainable or eco-friendly. It's made from melted down skin and bones and tendons of animals or fish. And they don't want you to know this, but they use chemicals to melt all that stuff down. So it's not quite as good for you as they make it to appear. And let's face it, it's you got to stir it, you got to mix it. I don't know anybody that likes the flavor of it. With spirulina and chlorella, they come in tablets. You can swallow these tablets, no flavor, no repeat like fish oil. So when you take spirulina, because it's so nourishing, it will replace most supplements. You don't need a multivitamin, you don't need collagen, you don't need fish oil, you probably don't need biotin, CoQ10, and chlorella, which is again our recovery bits, has so much chlorophyll and fiber in it. You don't need to eat another vegetable again. And if you don't like vegetables, you'll get all the nourishment you need from the chlorella. So they replace a lot of things. They're food. It's not a supplement, which means your body absorbs it. It's rapidly absorbed, a very concentrated nutrition, very high value. 10 tablets a day of each one costs you $1. And if we can put a stop to this rise in, cancer, we didn't even talk about cancer, but cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, spirulina is very much a brain food now we're talking about Alzheimer's, and chlorella is very much a gut food. So the two of them work quite,
they are go together, and I would tell people that are watching today, buy them together. Don't do one and not the other, because they really are complementary. They're like, they were like twins, and you don't want to raise those twins to get the least effect. So at the outcome. So okay, 1 minute. Tell us how people can order Energy Bits. I know on Amazon is one, but can they come to you directly?
Oh, yes. Please come to our website, energybits.com. That's ENERGYBITS. And we have a 20% discount code, Ageless, for all your listeners. And it works on all of the products, so you don't have to panic. And it lasts forever, so you can come back and use it again and again. And even if you aren't ready to buy something, just come to the website. We write a full blog every month, lots of scientific references. I didn't mention this earlier, but there are over 100,000 studies documenting all of the health benefits that I mentioned today, plus thousands more. So everything is scientifically documented. It's just not well known. And as I tell people, algae isn't new. It's just new to you. So do a little research. It's here to stay. It's been here for almost 4 billion years. It's just that nobody lifted the lid to explain to you what it does and why you need it. So I hope this has been helpful, but do come and visit us at energybits.com. Use the discount code AGELESS for your 20% off. And I promise you'll it's good for children, pets, grandparents, all ages. There's no group that can't benefit from algae. And I hope you'll give it a try.
And Catherine, one other thing I would let people know, if you're at all apprehensive, Energy Bits makes this easy for you, because they provide you with a smaller packaging that you can. Is this still true, Catherine, that you can buy the smaller ones?
We have a sample pack on our website where you get one of each of the 4 brands. Here's the 4 brands behind me. Or you can buy the single pouches on Amazon for $6. Try to take, and each pouch has 30 tablets in it. So that's probably, if you have any doubts, go to Amazon, just buy a couple of pouches for $6 each. It's a really small investment, and then enjoy a larger discount when you come to our website, the 20% off with Ageless. But we just want people to feel comfortable with it, and do try to keep them separately. Some people end up liking the spirulina more than the chlorella, or vice versa. We do offer a product called Vitality Bits, which is a blend of the 2 algae, but you won't be able to tell if there's one that you prefer if you start with that one. I would start you with either the spirulina, which is either the Energy Bits or Beauty Bits. I call them my twins, because my brands are like my children, and those are identical, just different packaging. So spirulina is your energy bits or your beauty bits. Chlorella, which is the wellness algae, is the recovery bits. It's a green algae, and then Vitality Bits is the blend of the two algae into a tablet.
That's perfect. And I can't let us go without complimenting you, as I did when we spoke offline, in the quality of your website and your product packaging. And then you did share the secret with me that you had some background in that world. So I just want to give you another,
Oh, thank you. That's kind of you.
On everything you do, all your collateral material, everything is aesthetically pleasing. So congratulations for that. It makes it very pleasant for the consumer.
Yes. Well, we're trying to take the weirdness out of algae, and if I can't do anything really well, I just don't do it at all. But I wanted the packaging to reflect the quality of what algae does inside your body. So I wanted the packaging to be as friendly and welcoming and energetic visually as what algae does internally. So I guess it sounds like I've achieved my goal.
Well, I want to say in about a year, because we're book solid, but in about a year, I'd like to have you back, because every day you're accomplishing new frontiers. And I want our viewers to be kept informed of what you're doing. Like even just I know you are going into, was it Neiman Marcus, or you're getting into, let's just say you mentioned that you were dealing with the IV practitioners. So let's just put on the table that a year from now, we have to have you back, and we're going to talk about everything we didn't get to today, which is a lot. And then some, with all the accomplishments, because every day you work so hard. I know you're accomplishing so much. So I have to say goodbye to you, but it's very sad to do so, because I'd love to talk for another hour. But anyway, I'm so happy that we've crossed paths, and we'll be seeing each other, I'm sure, in the future in person.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michele. It's so great to work with you. All right. Well, I'll be back. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Take care and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.